Good evening. This did not work at all how I intended it to work. But I'm here. This giving myself grace that I'm figuring it out, and yeah, we'll see how this goes. um, but I'm literally still watching the last few minutes of the show. I feel like it was anticlimactic. Usually, the last parts are like the most shocking or something. And Now they're talking about the prenup. They are so different culturally. I'm watching Mina and Mark. Sorry. Um, I guess that's like a big, like, wow ending. Is it though? I don't know. They built up meeting the daughter from the beginning with Sarper and what's her name, Shekinah, and it was like build up, and dragging, and nothing happening. It felt like generally this episode was dragging and nothing happening. I know I just repeated myself, but that's the best I can do right now. I guess this will turn into more of a recap than an after party. But yeah, I can put some music on. I don't know that I'll be able to think very clearly as a result. I don't know. I can put it like in a very like low background sort of thing situation. Oh, and I also noticed, I think this is better. I noticed that I am really you can barely hear me. Anyways, so I need to get better music or more of this kind of music. Let me watch also, sorry. I mean, no one's here, so, whatever. Let me watch the last the next time on kind of thing. So this whole Joan and Greg, I have a lot of thoughts. I think more because they weren't in this one, they were in the previous one. I have more thoughts around that one, and that one I'm going to do and release tomorrow the recap for the last week's. Unfortunately, I didn't get to it this weekend, and I really thought I would. It's been a very interesting weekend, like I said. Doing my best right now. Um, but yeah, and this I don't know, she's acting really weird. She's acting really, 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 really weird. Really weird. Really weird. Good on is was that the daughter, Sean's daughter or something? Um Saying that basically she doesn't think or friend, she doesn't think that Aaliyah is getting the love she deserves with Sean because he just said that he would rather not do the K1 and just, if they could, just live together and not get married. And I understand this is a sentiment that a lot of people have as far as marriage when they've been married and it hasn't worked out. But I don't know how to feel about that. I do feel like they're quite mismatched in so many ways, and I am absolutely worried for Aaliyah's heart because she is so into this. She's so in love and wanting honestly like a relationship she does deserve. And I think Sean loves her a lot, but I think there's like so many roadblocks that he has up, and I don't know if that love will be able to sustain through that. Mahdi, I can't, Maddie, and Stevie's dad. Okay, this music is getting to me. Um, I mean, I think that's fair. I think his dad has been fair from the beginning, and I think it's fair if he hears that Mahdi has second thoughts. And I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing his name wrong, Maddie. It's just like it's spelled that way, and I don't know. Um, he's a confusing one, but I also think, and I do have thoughts because they were on this episode. Um, I feel like he doesn't have a partner to figure this out, and so it's like up and down with him a lot, which is kind of understandable, I think, but also tough. This is like so much, so many. Um, the thruple, I call them in my notes. Definitely thoughts next week. I, I kind of understand this whole like you need to relax, you need to calm down to be calm. If you're not calm, do you think we can be together? I understand. It sounds dismissive, avoidant, but it also sounds manipulative. Um, grow up, Ani. Grow up. Sometimes people's feelings are hurt and they express, and I don't think it got to me because I don't think Amini was dramatic. I don't think Amini likes drama. From what I've seen, she's been so open and honest. She's been so willing to work with everything, and she's been just genuine and just very genuine. Like emotions come up and she expresses them, and fears come up and she expresses them. And she's also quite clear when she's speaking, which sounds like she's not really triggered. I mean, she even says she has jealousy and she has fears, but I think those are like natural. And I don't think she's triggered because she's very clear minded when she speaks about what she needs. And she is very calm when she does that. And I haven't heard anything that, like, oh, behind the scenes it's different. Like, yeah, she said this at the jacuzzi, but then, when the lights went off, like it was a different story. We haven't heard anything like that. So I will take her as what we've seen so far. So yeah, I don't, I don't like that. I don't like that. You need to grow up, Ani. People are people with emotions. Deal with it. Like learn to deal with it. If you don't go to therapy, because probably in Mexico it's not that like it's probably still kind of taboo, and in the US so much still is that way. But if you don't go to therapy, you know do therapy on your own, do it to yourself, figure out why you have a problem with someone expressing something and you're not even willing to understand her. Oh, we'll get into that. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. Oh boy. Oh boy. What? Mina and Mark. What? Oh shoot. I was going to start recording. I'm just recording now. Oh. Yeah. Most of the times things aren't what they look like. And Mark, I guess, is not an exception to that rule. I mean, I maybe he's, all good and stuff like that, but like, and maybe it's like a misunderstanding or whatever. But sorry. Mm, all right, I'm gonna get into things because, but wow, that was a shocker. So next week will be a great one. Hopefully, last week's was also a great one. This week was kind of crappy, but let's get into it. Hold on, let me like settle in. Oh boy, I did some Zumba today, but that's not why I am like a little grandma. All right, so um, since I decided to go with this layout, and therefore I don't have my usual setup, and I don't know, I'm a little more um lost right now. I just have my laptop, which is like kind of not a big deal, but I don't feel like I have the ability to think clearly and like put on music and all this stuff and be pumped up. Um, but I will. I will. Let's get into like this week's episode. Um, like I said, it was not explosive at the end, but it was like it had some like I guess good background stories. I feel like this episode was like a background episode, a background like a this is these people that we're introducing from these couples' lives before, besides the throuple, kind of, because we haven't seen anyone outside of them three. But yeah, so Sarper and Shekinah, it was kind of weird to see this episode of them, or was it last week? I don't know, because Shekinah went on Instagram and said that, like, oh, you guys, saying, that I don't treat Sarper right and all stuff, which is so funny how tables have turned. But yeah, she basically defended herself, as far as that she's not as controlling and so forth. I don't know that she's controlling. I didn't see that she's controlling so far, but she's definitely in her 40s and she has her way of doing things, and he has his own way, and it's going to be a more challenging time than people in their 20s. However, it's also a easier time to navigate because when people know what they want and who they are, at least like they're able to come from that place and negotiate and see what is negotiable rather than basically crossing their own boundaries and then discovering later like, oh wait, yeah, I've developed resentment over the years because I gave in with this for you and I actually shouldn't have. So yeah, I think that's kind of what's happening. But I, I do think that she could have managed her money better or differently if she wanted him to be here, but maybe she didn't at the beginning. And that's fair. But if she did, if she knew all of this, 2 years ago or a year ago, I think she could have not done the plastic surgery, and all these things and blah, blah, blah. I don't know. And then save money to get a bigger place. But she also explained how, like, she had this place because it was both workable and livable, and it didn't make sense to have two different places because it was just her and her daughter. But also, like, her daughter didn't have room there, so I don't know. Anyways, um, yeah. Uh, she asks him how it went, and he says so so. Sorry, I just like dove right in because I was like, what did I write? And then, oh gosh, I cannot wait to talk about last week's episode because that I had so much more to say, and there was so much more on that one. And he says, so so. Everything was great except for the little French detail, and I love how diverse Sarper is with describing Dan, who is Shekinah's French friend. I don't understand why they're friends. I say this in my last week's review. I don't understand why they're friends. He reminds me of Darcy and Stacy's one friend with blue hair. I forget his name, who feels like he's doing it on purpose. He's like instigating on purpose. Like he's enjoying it. It comes across like he's enjoying it, and maybe that's just it. Like he's just enjoying it because he is jealous, or because he's protective, or because of whatever. Um, but it also comes across like, are you doing this for the cameras? Is that why you're enjoying it? Um, that's how it felt like. That was last week though, their whole thing. But I think they started a little bit with that this week. Um, and yeah, or he's a plant where he's like being fed by producers to instigate things, or he's just like more malleable with produce from producers. But either way, I just don't get that friendship. I sorry. Then it's meeting the daughter day or days. Spoiler alert. I mean, obviously, we probably watched the show if you were watching this, but that's not happening in this episode. She gets to meet her daughter in this episode. Her daughter does look a lot like her, and she's really pretty, and it just reminds me, and seeing her sister too, Shekinah's sister, reminds me how I wish Shekinah did not do all the plastic surgeries, because she very likely looked so much better. I think I even saw something online like she looked so much better, like most of the time. There is some plastic surgery like Blake Lively, and there's like those kind of plastic surgeries that just are like little tweaks that do make people look better or more like finished, because everyone has like asymmetries and things. So, I get that. But when you're changing your face to that extent, like Shekinah and Darcy and Stacy, you end up looking foolish. You know, I love the sentiment of body positivity, also including, you do what you feel comfortable with. If you want to get plastic surgery, go get it. I think that's dangerous though, because some people don't understand, and instead of going and getting help that they need, they try to, get help. Like some people get help from alcohol or from smoking, others from procedures like this. And so I don't know that we should just have that blanket statement, just like, covering Blake Lively and Justin Baldoni stuff. I don't think, believing women should be believe all women, no matter what the end, the men should not defend themselves. So that's a kind of attitude I would hope we would, excuse me, take with, yeah, what do you call these procedures? I just call them plastic surgery and stuff. Um, so yeah, I don't think Shekinah is necessarily at that point. I don't know. Like when I think Stacy actually probably looks better. It's the lips though. I just don't understand how they don't see it. That it looks weird and gross. Like the lips look gross when they do whatever they do with these lips. I don't know if it's just filler or if it's permanent, because it looks permanent, because she kind of said that she had her filler out, and people were like, I don't know, it doesn't look like it. Um but it might just be like they can't, like it's something that, maybe it's filler and something that's permanent. But yeah, I'm sorry. I'm going to be very honest about that. I'm all about positivity, but I'm also not about like ignoring things that I feel very strongly uh, kind of cause a detriment to people. So yeah. But that's not really here nor there right now. They talk about modern Sarper, and yeah, yeah, he did a pretty good job as modern Sarper. I don't know if impressed. I think it was something that we needed to see, like his side of things, because just like later in the episode when it's meeting the daughter time, but it's not yet. But the daughter and Shekinah, I think Sophie is her name. They have many petties or just petties, and they talk about that and how like she has a certain impression, or Shekinah is fearing that she has a certain impression from what she's been told from her family, and her family does not approve, Shekinah's family, of Sarper, and also from the show. I think I say more of this ironically tomorrow in my review of next week's episode, but um, I think I've seen a different side of Sarper that is genuine, but just different. And I've said maybe it was two reviews ago or last week. Um, I think that that was him all along, but he put up this sort of mask and armor on, and he's been this other person that I think, if anything, who he's trying to be now is more who he really is. And he's found some safety to be himself with Shekinah, and where that he has not found with other women or in the past, or he was not ready to find that or whatever. So I believe that, I'm not saying he's perfect, and I'm not saying he's suddenly an angel, or like doesn't have issues, or is, doesn't have misogyny or whatever. I don't know. We'll see. We'll have to see. But I think I can understand, and I'm very, very curious how the daughter meetup will go, because I can understand based on what we've seen so far, and the dynamic that has been in the past, and what even Shekinah has presented in the past and said in the past. Um, it's absolutely understandable to have this idea of him. And I also kind of will give Dan the French baguette, as as Sarper called him. Um, I will give him some slack as far as that too. And again, I say this more in the review of last week's episode. But I wonder, at least. I don't know if I think yet, but I wonder and I question, did Dan's impression of Sarper and her friends, Shekinah's friends and family, have this impression of Sarper because of what she told them and how she phrased things and shaped things, not just her sister, but that didn't help. That did not help. So we'll have to see. But yeah, that's kind of it on them, except for the Sarper and Sea Lions moment. He is such an animal lover. I love it. I love it. He is so like happy around animals. So cute. So cute. I love that. So I love to see also this side of Sarper. And because not just of him, but as these two people in this relationship, it can be any people. It's nice to see the other from like more of the perspective of the other person, and more about the other person, instead of the person being a caricature of themselves, which is what he's been so far. And maybe that was his doing. Maybe he wasn't opening up, or maybe that was the show and they thought that was going to like sell, or like, you know, bring in the people that like, oh, Sarper, no, Shekinah, he's terrible for you, kind of thing, which was what was until now. I'm gonna skip the thruple to the end, because the thruple, ooh, I have so many thoughts on that. I don't know many, but I have some strong thoughts on that couple thruple. So I'm going to go next into the Mahdi and Stevie. And again, I'm sorry if I'm mispronouncing his name. I see it and I cannot pronounce it Maddie, because Maddie would be Maddi or IE or something. So yeah, let me know if I'm mispronouncing it. Um, but I also think it's pronounced correctly from the tiny bit. I don't know any Arabic, but the tiny bit of then I understanding of the family of that language. If that makes sense. No. Um. All right. They're at the gym, And I actually missed it because I was looking at something, or I was writing about the previous thing or something. So I didn't really see exactly who was helping who, but he was saying that girl helped him because he didn't understand how to use the machine. No, I don't know what he didn't understand. Anyways, the girl seemed completely planted. Not gonna lie. Not gonna lie. 100%. But it then opened this conversation about you're going to the gym. How are you going to handle that? And I don't remember actually who asked. Um, but I know he said, or he asked, how would you want me to handle that? Oh, because Stevie said something around, well, this is different. Has she been to Iran? I don't think she has. But okay, let's just skip over that. This is different in this country because women will be a lot more bold. They will ask you directly if you want to go out, like, oh, hey, you're cute, do you want to go out sometime or whatever? And it was so interesting. This is one thing that I really love about Mahdi is that he is so mature when it comes to tackling situations initially, at least. I don't know how to say it, but he asked, how would you want me to handle that? And it wasn't like a back question, but that's what Stevie did. Because Stevie asked, well, what do you think should be the first thing you say? And I'm like, that's not answering his question. What are you, 5, 8? Are you 8 years old, Stevie? What is that? What is that? Either she has a lot of issues or she's just too immature. I don't know. Or both or something else. I don't know. And Mahdi has his own, like, flags kind of going up. But it might be because of the confusion that I also get. Like, what? I don't know. I would get very triggered with someone like Stevie. I'll be like, why are you asking? Just answer my question. Why are you answering my question with a question? Why are you deflecting? Or like, why are you testing me? And because the way that he asked was so grounded and mature, and to me, is like that was like, oh wow, adults talking. Like this is how it should go. Apparently not to Stevie. Oh, and it gets better. Or worse, whichever one you want to go with. So I were like, why is Stevie not answering? She comes across very mature, answering a question with a question. He notices it, and she gets defensive. Because I think he said, I don't remember. He said that he didn't I didn't think that she handled that right, or I forget. I don't know. Cuz that's the thing. He also says that sometimes I'm afraid that him and other people sometimes in this like Amini, okay, I'm getting ahead of myself. Sometimes I fear that some of these people will screw up people that are already mature and on the right track, and they know exactly how to approach situations in a very healthy way. And by being with someone who doesn't, it can really genuinely, speaking for personal experience, it can really like throw you off track because you're starting to think like maybe I'm doing it wrong. And then you're like changing how you're doing it, and then you go to therapy maybe, and you're learning that how you used to do it was exactly right, and then how you're doing it now isn't, and then you get frustrated. Anyways, if you go to therapy, and some of these people might not. So I'm kind of afraid that she will kind of screw him up a little bit because she does not have healthy ways of communicating and handling situations. For whatever his red flags are, like she has some pretty strong ones that we've already seen. So we'll see, because usually things turn around, and then you like, one person in the couple, and then you reverse, and then you reverse, and then by the end of the season, you're like, I don't like any of these couples. These couples suck, or or not. Then he confronts her about the boobs in the house and her painting boobs so much. And he asks, and I love how he presented it too, like how important this was to him to know um, if she's bisexual. Because if, he doesn't want to get blindsided and he's putting a lot on the line being here. So he wants to know, one way or another, and to not wake up one day that she will not want to be with him, and like, oh yeah, I met this girl, and I want to be with her instead, or I actually just want to be with girls from now on, or whatever. And I think that was a mature thing for him to do, because is it a mature thought? That you can debate, but that he had it, and he approached it in a very calm way and sincerely. I think that's a mature, point. But she gets weirded out by that question. So he asks that, are you bisexual? And I even wrote, I think this is a fair question considering what he was saying. And then she says, that's weird. And to us in the ITM, or whatever they call it, in 90 Day World, she says that it's insane. So I don't think I should have to answer a question like that. It's insane for him to even ask that. And then the producer says, well, but do you think that it would ease his mind, um, or comfort his mind, or whatever? Yeah, ease his mind if you just answered him. And her, this was just like crazy. And just the way that she looked, I'm like, something's going on under that surface. And I don't know if it's like the bisexual thing, or just like something's triggered in her. Like, she is not calm, cool, and collected. Inside, there were like bombs going off. And you could see them in her eyes. You could see them like in her. It was so strange. But not strange, like, I'm not trying to say actually strange to like sound like I'm putting her down. It was, but it was itself strange. She wasn't strange necessarily. I didn't, I'm very curious what's going on there. And I think we'll find out, because it's right under the surface. And I think there will be an explosive thing with these two. And so she says, I don't understand why his mind is not at ease. Therefore, I don't understand why I have to comfort him that way. So, no, I'm not going to answer. She's a child. And I don't mean that disrespectfully. I mean that, like, she communicates like that's like very childish, right? Like, well, I don't understand, so I'm not going to answer it. Okay, I know I added like a layer of attitude, but why are you so, you could say, defensive, or so combative, like difficult? Why are you being so difficult? Oh my gosh, yeah, that brings up memories. Like, why are you being so difficult? Like, pulling teeth. Like, why are you making this into a problem if it's not? What's your point in doing that? What do you want to gain from that? From just having that there's another word that I'm thinking of, but I can't think of it. Conflict, maybe. I don't know. Why are you being conflictual? Is that a is that even a word? Anyways, so he, I don't know, kind of drops it or whatever, and then she starts joking with this, that um her dad even asked a similar thing when she was getting ready to tell him to tell her dad about Mahdi. His for I remember her saying something like, "Oh, I have something to tell you. I've been dating someone, and for like a while, and like she hasn't told him." And the dad's like, "Why? Like, is it a girl? Like, why didn't you tell me?" Kind of thing. I think it was her dad's thing. Like, what's wrong that you're afraid to tell me? Why haven't you told me this far, or whatever? And Yeah, apparently, like, I mean, I don't know, Mahdi was on it. He called her right out. It's like, oh, well, that makes me uncomfortable because even, like, see, even your dad, had his doubts or whatever, his questions. And yeah, she did not like that even more. That, like, triggered her even more. Something's going on with her. Just the way that she's, like, acting, the energy that she has on her. Something's up. Something is going on. I don't know. And again, I don't know if it's that she is bisexual or even she just, loves women the end and she doesn't feel like she can or she hasn't come to terms with that or whatever. But I don't know if that's it or if it's something else or if it's part of something else. Because I feel like there's something bigger than that because it's not just with this question. It's, yeah, I feel very confident on that. It's not just with this question. There's like a whole, there's so many things that she reacts in this sketchy way about. So yeah, I don't think it's that she is or she might be, but I don't think that's like where it ends. So, oh, and I wrote, she is so sketchy about this. And then I said, he's been nothing but mature and open with her. What the heck is going on with her? I felt kind of bad when I wrote that. Like, right after I wrote that, I'm like, oh gosh. But at the same time, even just like remembering it as I'm saying it now, it's just odd. I It's just odd. I don't. Something's really, really off. Her and Joan have something really weird about them. I can't put my finger on them yet. But we'll see. We'll see with the whole thing. But well, we might see because again, it took us so many seasons to see Sarper as a full human that he is. And so I don't know if we'll end up seeing if the production wants us to see a certain thing and won't let us see other things, or if they themselves, because sometimes it's just the people that think like, oh, like they're not comfortable with really revealing themselves in general, much less on camera. Then the next part of Madi and maybe it's Madi, I don't know, Madi, I don't know, and Stevie. Um, Oh, yeah, they have like a first date or something experience. And I said they both can be hella awkward in an experience. Like they're both two peas in a pod sometimes. They are so awkward sometimes about normal things, but okay. Um, and then starts talking about, or they talk about how, sorry, how in his country in Iran, if you get caught drinking alcohol, you get beatings or something. And she's like, "Oh my gosh, no, you're joking." He's like, "No," and she's like, "No, you're joking." He's like, "No." Anyways, what I liked about that, ironically speaking, was that, and I don't think this was an edit. I think this was like real time. She then said, "So I know you've been homesick." And let me pull up my little stool footrest here. So somehow that turns into them having this date night, which that's not really, you know, homesick kind of thing. And also her idea of painting her butt, that's not homesick kind of thing. I think maybe she's like a bit self-centered and not really understanding, like empathizing with the other person. And again, in that kind of immature way where she's not meaning badly, at least from what I see so far. And who am I, right? But this is my opinion, you know. Um, but just like from a place where she thinks like, oh, you're homesick, so let me give you, something that means something to me that would make me happy. Oh, so sorry. And so this whole like painting her butt, he's like, not yet, can't do that yet. And she's like, well, what about my boobs? And I'm like, girl, that's even worse. What are you talking about? Do you not know? Have you not talked with him? Do you not know anything about his culture, even from his own mouth? I mean, I know more about it from the little that they've showed us, sorry, that we've seen that they showed us about his culture and about all of that than apparently Stevie does. But again, that's what I think. Like, she's not hearing it, she's in her own little world because he's shared very much, and he even says, like, he's experienced so many culture shocks already. Like, he's just not ready, and she's just not getting it and not hearing it. She does come across very, very like 19-year-old girl. I think she has had some significant trauma because not just like she's immature, but like she's very stunted. And it's interesting to see, it just kind of like clicked on in my head. Like, yeah, what's the phrasing? Arrested development, like when something happens at a certain age, like you're stuck at that age. Um or like in certain issues you're stuck in a certain age. That is kind of what I think we're seeing. Something, she has some sort of trauma. I don't know what it is, but she is very stuck in a very young age. Not like, kid, but like, yeah, maybe teenager or middle school. I don't know. I don't know. But anyway, so we get the transition. I said Stevie does not get Madi, whatever. Um, and then the painting, I don't know who decided that they could do like his bicep. I think he did. And because I think she said, like, oh, I don't think that'll show up. And I thought that was like a really cool painting. It at times looked a little bit like, what is that South Park character? Mr. Poohhead or something? I have barely watched South Park, so I don't know. What's the poop thing? Oh, Mr. Hanky. Okay, Mr. Hanky. That is really weird, but okay. Um, it kind of looked like that, but it was also cool at the same time. So, painting aside, then they start talking about the wedding and how it's getting expensive to do um, to apply for the permanent residence once like he would, get married. And I think, and so he suggests like that's why maybe we should get married before the 90 days, like not tomorrow, but like just a little earlier. And she's rightly so confused because he was just telling her that he wants to go back home and now he wants to move out the wedding. She's like, what is going on? I don't blame her. I don't blame her. I have no idea what's going on with that. Um, I think in part it might be because it's like the culture shock. It's a lot. It's very different. He doesn't have a partner to partner with, so he feels one day. And then she even says later that they leave. She leaves for work. They say goodbye, and it's all good. And then when she comes home, he's a different person in the sense like he's homesick and he's sad, and he is very moved by like during the day he talks with his family, and so he's very moved by that. And so I think there's like a lot of that too, like this up and down to him, and he's not settling in because I don't know what she does and how long she's gone. But that, so um, I think I don't know that he knows what he wants. Like, genuinely, I don't know that he knows what he wants. I also think of what people might say as far as like him wanting to like one moment go back, one moment stay here and get the green card or whatever. And yeah, like I don't know. I'm so curious. We'll see what happens. Then we have Mina and Mark. Oh my gosh, that was like such a weird, nonsensical, didn't go anywhere, was kind of bored. This whole, the rest of the show, besides the throuple, was so boring today. So I think it starts with, yeah, she just walked off and Mark was basically saying, "Hey guys, like she just feels like everyone is ganging up on her. It's her first party in the USA. She left her whole family back there and everything. So like she's just like, too much." Then he says at one point that they talked about the prenup. She says they didn't, and I believe her. And I'll tell you why. One, not just, I guess, one, because of how it sounded when she said it. Two, because of how it sounded when he said it. And so far, we have seen him kind of like white lie ish because he feels uncomfortable or scared and he doesn't want to ruffle any feathers and he doesn't want anyone to get upset. That's where I think he was coming from. Or, because he even said she might have not understood what he meant. And Jordan's like, well, she knows what a prenup is, right? That's not how you ask a question, Jordan, if you want an honest answer, because you're leading the witness. So, yeah, I think Mark is maybe like, oh, did Mina not understand what I was talking about as far as like the prenup? Because she was saying like a marriage contract, and maybe that's how they say prenup in French. I'll have to text my friend actually. Um, but it almost didn't sound the same thing. I don't know. I don't know. Hold on. You know when you're like you have like an old friend where you literally haven't talked the whole day and you're like, "So, how do you say this in your language?" Yeah, I love that. Like, and I would welcome the same thing. And because I'll say, you have like an old time friend, like a long time friend when I know that if I would get that from her, I would not feel like offended. Like, you didn't text me all day. So, anyways, like, why do you think you get the answer to this question? Because you haven't texted me all day. All right. As far as like trust and whatever, like, I don't know. It's interesting. This comes up in these couples sometimes too. It's interesting to see how things get. I think with Sean and Aaliyah, things get they come across differently depending on the circumstance. And if you don't know to kind of spot, like, oh yeah, this person feels this way because the trust is broken or because the trust hasn't been developed in the relationship or this or that, then you're going to like just see like, oh, they're crazy or whatever. Anyways, back to Mina and Mark, which is somewhat like that. So I think, I agreed with Mark. He said not the time or place. Like, this is just all new, and suddenly we're bringing up prenup the first time she's meeting all of you guys in this country. She met them in her country, but now she's here. And like, imagine. I feel so bad for Mina because when you think about it, she's what, 35, 36, 32, something. She's in her 30s, and she's coming here to this country her one son got delayed and back home, and yes, he's with someone she trusts, but seriously, it's like really hard. And then she has a small daughter here with her. She just came here. She can speak the language, but kind of broken, not the best. And she's marrying an older man who I'm sure she is aware of that, people have their thoughts. And so she probably is also kind of more defensive around that. And, she's probably just like, mm, on guard about it. And her first night or first day, she finds out that she thought his family loved her and liked her, at least liked her, and suddenly she finds out that his daughter hates her. And then when they talk, she finds out that his daughter is very controlling and is saying a lot of things like, I don't want you guys having any more children, as this man's daughter is saying that to her. And then, she gets to the house and she's asked about prenup, and there's something else right before that. It's like, what are you guys thinking? I got very frustrated at this family. I thought this whole family, I felt like, are they a plant? The whole family. What are they doing? Who are these people? And is it racism or is it culturalism? Because I feel like it's one or of the two or both. Because something's not right. The way that they're treating her, it was just weird. Weird. It's interesting. Like, I want to know who the other lady was that was African American, African Black. I don't know. Um, but we didn't even see her talk. I don't know. Something's up. Something's up. I liked his mom though, Mark's mom. But I also thought, like, how old was she when she had Mark? Because they look almost the same age. It's crazy. So, maybe Mark just aged more over time. So yeah, agreed, not the time or place. And then Mina says she doesn't like his family, and I think that's a fair statement. I would feel the same way in her shoes. I might not say that out loud. She's very outspoken, very open. She's very direct. I think that is French. My friend can be that way, and sometimes I'm like, you can't say that, can you? I can't. I don't feel like I can say things or whatever like that. Just very straight out. And I think it's not always good, but I definitely can appreciate it, and I feel like that's fair of her to feel that way because what I just described, and that was not exactly the whole thing. That was like most of the things because I can't remember everything. But she's had a rough 3 days or something. This is just crazy, and she has jet lag, I'm sure, and a small child. It's a lot. Anyways, so Mark goes over to comfort her or something, and then they're okay. I feel like I do like Mark and how he talks. I think Um, I like that he's pretty calm and, he has his own issues too. I don't exactly have them pinpointed to a certain thing. And then Jordan and his mom, so her grandmother, they have a talk on the steps, and she says, "I get that Mina is upset, but I am upset too." And I'm like, I don't like her. But maybe that was taken out of context. Maybe because of editing, it made more sense otherwise. Because I'm like, why are you inserting yourself? What does this have to do with you? You just brought up about the prenup, and what does this have to do with you directly? Because indirectly I can understand, kind of. No, anyways. So the mom goes over and she talks with Mina and Mark, but Mina, and I love how she handles that. Well, it's been 3 days of extreme exhaustion, so I'm looking forward to bed. And yeah, um, but yeah, the mom says that it was like it was slowly building a wall, like what they were doing, and if you build it enough for enough time, like it's going to be impossible to bring it back down. So she wanted to diffuse the situation before it got worse. And I thought that was very healthy and mature, and but wisdom of the old. And yeah, so I think they cut out a lot, and it was very frustrating because for as unnecessarily long and pointless this episode was, I feel like they cut out the important stuff. I don't know what they were doing. Maybe they have like a new like head of editing or something, cuz this sucks. The way what they included and didn't include was just like, especially for this couple, I think we needed to hear a lot more than what we heard, but whatever. So she asked if Mina would like to speak with Jordan. I guess she said it says yes or whatever. And Mina turned into such a different person with his mom, and with him too, but with his mom for sure, it was almost like you could see that she found a mom, like she found herself, because when you're like with a mom or a grandmother, you feel safer. You feel safer to be expressive, to feel vulnerable, to not be like, oh, you're a snake and have your guard up, but feel like I'm really hurt by this instead. So I think that's what was happening. But I also wonder if she felt pressure because it was his mom and because she was an elder. That's also kind of what it gave me a little bit vibes of. So, yeah, so Jordan comes over and she says that, hey, like, you calling me a snake, um I don't know, like, what you meant by that, but I would like an apology because that's very hurtful. And Mina was like, yeah, I think it was just like a translation thing, like in French, something, whatever. But yes, I apologize for that. And was it sincere? What, I don't know. I don't know. And then Jordan apologizes for for making Mina uncomfortable, put her into an uncomfortable situation, which I think was too general because Mina then in her ITM said like, I don't know if she's telling the truth, and also she didn't apologize for this, she didn't apologize for that, and I felt like that was a pretty fair thing to say. Um, but I don't know. I don't know that either were not genuine or that they were genuine. I couldn't tell. Like, time will tell. But I think there's definitely at least the willingness, the apologies and everything. I think it's better than nothing because I like what his mom said. Like, once you build that wall, it's going to be very hard, if not impossible, to tear it down. So, it might not feel great now and it might not have solved the problems and the issues, but it's a good start and kind of necessary. So we'll see. I also, this was the last episode, but I mean, I got some respect for Jordan back. I mean, because like everyone starts, I respect everyone, and then they kind of like chip away at that, if anything. But I gained some of it back with Jordan as far as the ferry boat situation, because I was like, wow, she reached out to Mina first. I think that Mina is a little bit, gosh, fish out of water is an understatement. I think people assume because she's with Mark and she's French and she might come across a certain way, like she's quiet and she speaks French and she's very direct. I think people assume that she is the snake, that she is tough, that she is conniving or in control and she's superior. Um, but honestly, I think Jordan might be more like confident and like secure or feeling safe. And I think that's where it might come. it might get confusing for people, because a lot of it was like, yeah, she should be the one that should, make the effort more, blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, just because she's marrying your dad and your dad is older and she's not older doesn't mean she's older. Doesn't mean that she doesn't have insecurities. Doesn't mean she's not a freaking insecure person. She comes across as very insecure. But not in, I'm not saying that in a bad way of using that word, but like um, she has a lot of shyness and insecurity, and so that kind of person will not be the first to apologize, will not be the first to like try to make amends, because if you feel small, you feel like the other person is bigger, is stronger, is more mature than you, is um has more power than you. You feel fear and you want to like just not get on their radar and just run. So that's what comes across about Mina to me, and I can relate to that, and maybe that's why, or maybe I'm like putting that on her, but I feel very like sure about this. Yes, it's coming from like self um like I have that experience as well, and I remember in my like when I started working in my 20s, and I remember in my first workplace, I was like criticized or whatever because I wasn't saying good morning to everyone, and I was like, but how? That was excruciatingly painful for someone who's shy. And I think people don't understand that. And I've been called rude so much because of things like that. Or because I don't apologize, which is interesting because I apologize all the time. But in certain situations, I remember I have trauma around this, like, mild trauma. And we're not talking about like crazy trauma. I don't know, maybe. Um, but it's traumatic in the sense of like, it, there's like this clarity around like um apologizing. Like oh gosh, I had like a panic attack and anxiety, a high level of anxiety, 1/4 of July, and I was like, not on my knees, but like crunched over, like I don't know, like made myself small in the bathroom of, not gonna go into details, of these people's house, and I didn't get any healthy comfort. I was put to work, and I think I left there thinking like they probably think, because of how I was talked to, like, oh, I wasn't, they didn't say like, oh, you're not going to help, clean up. They didn't say it like that. But that was kind of the message, like, you know, like a test kind of. And I was like, also culturally it was so different because like we don't do that to our guests, like whoever you are, like you just don't do that. um but yeah, I so things like that. But I left thinking like for sure this person at least, or all of them, think that I am lazy, or I think I'm sorry, that was like very triggering. That I'm a princess. It got to me because at least I was told, like, but maybe it's like a telephone thing, But I was told kind of indirectly, or like by a proxy, that um that word was used. And so like I think that's what's happening with Mina. I think she's misunderstood this whole thing with her being late to her party, like 3 4 hours late. I don't get it either, but maybe, again, we'll see more details. But yeah, I think they are expecting her to be someone else because, again, because he's older, they are making her to be older than she is. And she's not the person in power here. She's the newly came to America person. She has the least amount of power. They're supposed to be there to help her feel welcomed, even though she's marrying their dad and their son and their brother and whatever. Like, she's a foreigner here. She left the life that she knew her whole life, or, I don't know, um her family, etc. We don't know so much about her, but she left all of that to come here. And yeah, I think they got it like reversed. So, but at least there's peace now, there for now. And I think I agree. I think that's a good part. And then they just leave. What was that? Why did they not stay there? I thought they left. They went and were going to stay in this house together or something. I guess they didn't have luggage. That should have been a tell, but that I just didn't expect that. Like, that was just kind of strange, but all right. But yeah, I have soft spot. Yeah, soft spot in my heart for Mina, which I think I'm curious. I have not seen any of the Pillow Talk episodes, so I'm curious what people say. But I think I'm pretty right on this one. I think I'm pretty right. Sorry, I forgot. The last moment of the episode was Mark and Mina, and it was Mina telling him that she doesn't want to sign the prenup. And he's like, I thought we already settled this. And I feel like, did they? Or did, because what she said is like, well, yeah, to your family I said what they wanted to hear or whatever, because this is between us. And I totally understand where she's coming from. I don't think that many, I don't know if it's like cultural, like Americans don't get that. But because Stevie with Mahdi, that was kind of a similar thing. Like, why did she say personal business to her family? It's like a fine line. It's a fine line. But anyways, but with this prenup, I can understand that. And because she said that they never talked about it, and Mark said that they did talk about it, and she agreed. Again, we had so many cuts. We didn't see so much of this episode. So I wonder if in that whole time that they were together with the full family, I wonder if that was what was communicated eventually to her, and she's like, okay, fine, I'll just like say this now, because she felt so much pressure. And then, like, oh, hey, by the way, like, no, I don't want to sign this prenup. um yeah, that's kind of what it came across to me like, but I don't know, we'll find out. There was one other thing that I wanted to say. Oh, yeah, yeah. Like, I don't understand exactly what this whole thing about prenups is. I wonder if it's because to my knowledge, I think both parties are free to read over and understand what is in there and agree to all the things. And but when you're coming here, and if unless you're like the one that has more money and so forth, like, you already feel in so many ways less than, and cautious and unable to like have the empowerment that you have in your own country. So I wonder if that plays a part in this. I remember that one couple in a past one that had this problem, and I don't understand. I've not heard the word prenup so many times ever. Like, in real life, I've never heard of someone getting a prenup or talking about it. But I also feel like I wouldn't have a problem with it if I would be very sure of what is written and it wouldn't be something like crazy, like you get nothing if you get divorced. It's like, no, that's not fair. I'm a good person and I will stand by that. And I think maybe these people that are like, no, I don't want to sign it and I don't want it, is because they don't feel empowered to negotiate if it comes to that, if it has to come to that. So I don't know. Moving on to, this will be a very short one, but Aaliyah and Sean. Okay, maybe she is hypochondriac or germophobic or something is going on, but I will say, no, do not ever leave your toothbrush open in a room where your toilet is being flushed. No. That is absolutely factually true what she was saying, that when you're flushing the toilet, especially if you are going to the bathroom, that alone has splashes and things, but not that crazy. Or I don't know, maybe with men because they're standing, I don't know, maybe it like splashes more. But when you're like flushing the toilet, when you put the seat down, that helps. If you don't put the seat or like the cover, if you don't put the cover down, I mean, this was like shown. I forget what that. It wasn't 60 Minutes, maybe. No, it was some show that showed with like a black light that it just sprays everywhere. So no, that is not, that alone is not exaggerated. Doing an HIV test, as far as what they were talking, like whenever you get a cut at the nail salon or this or that. Okay, I've said this before. She's from Brazil. There could be a very cultural reason, because some countries, especially I've talked about like tropical, subtropical, whatever. That was my first thought when I heard like, oh, she's germophobic and like she wants to like wash her feet when she comes into the house or whatever. And I'm like, but she's from Brazil. And then we find out that, is she from the favelas or like adjacent? She's not rich. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe I'm also speaking a little bit from first hand experience, but in Romania, like, it's not, that when you're getting into the house, like, you need to wash your feet, you need to like be clean because you're walking all the time. You don't have cars now, you do, but back then when I was like growing up, when I was little and learning about this, like, and no, I didn't do it all the time. We didn't do it all the time. But yeah, you're outside. It's dusty. It's also like the city. I grew up in the city. So, I mean, well, even countryside is like dusty. But there's like so much germs and dirt and whatever. And Sean, and I wrote this and I feel bad. This is not, I'm not proud of saying this, but I feel like I don't know how else to say it right now. So I'm very sorry. This is a low point for me. But Sean is a slob. The way he dresses, I think even in the one um scene where they're talking about this, the toothbrush or like something else, or like before they went out, um he was wearing this like white shirt underneath and this black like mm, not sweatshirt but something on top, and then he did not look like, and they did not look clean. He went out with his pants ripped. I don't think he's one to talk about, you know, calling her a germophobic hypochondriac. I think he has to learn a little bit of hygiene and things. But yeah, the toothbrush thing, 100%. That, 100%. The testing thing, that might be stress, that might be anxiety, but it might come from a very real place. She's also a nurse, so that probably also increased things. And he said that is probably, is what he assumed. But then to him is a little even more too much, for even a nurse to feel this like germophobic about things. Um, I think it comes from a lot, but it screams definitely anxiety, and not like anxiety like irrational anxiety or irrational germophobic sentiment, but like stemming from very real places. Like the HIV testing is with him a lot. Like she doesn't feel comfortable for the open relationship and him sleeping around with other people. And I think there's just so much that's understandable that Sean's making it out like it's exaggerated. And I don't like that. My friend just, yeah, no, it is a marriage contract. Contrat du mariage. That is, I did not pronounce that right. But, anyways. So that was like from the earlier segment. But yeah, sorry. I'm like, where am I? I'm still on the toothbrush. I cannot believe he had the gall, the audacity to say that's exaggerated. Like, okay. It was kind of his attitude, if not exactly what he said at one point. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so they go into this drugstore, and I was going to say, like, is this like a joke? Is this producer planned? And then I thought, well, maybe like big drugstore chains and grocery stores. I go like for toothbrush, I go to the grocery store because it's, I don't know, like, yeah, it's right there. But maybe those don't allow filming. So I'm like, okay, I'll lay off of that. But this is definitely a weird grocery store, and it actually looks fake because they have dog toys. Sorry, it's not a grocery store; it's a drugstore, and they have dog toys, but just on this random wall. And then they have these like very sparse things, and it just looked really not real. So it might have been just made up. Who knows? Um, but yeah, and because also then she sees this like HIV test, home test, and I've not seen that. So I feel like that, like, I don't know. Maybe, I don't know. Again, we don't know exactly so much because of how things are edited, but it just seemed like out of nowhere. And it seemed like it was planted, or the whole thing was. But, anyways, just to talk about her hypochondria. But I said, I'm sorry, it's not fair. It's not fair what Sean is, like, saying. Um, and like this goes later on too, and I actually didn't see, I was kind of like over this episode being so bland and editing the wrong things out and keeping the wrong things in. But when they were at dinner, and I think he said, but he has said it so many times that if she fully transitions into being a fully, full woman, then like he might have to keep the relationship open so he can also be with men, he can sleep with men. And at that point I would say just thruple it up. But also i can I can understand where he's coming from in terms of, you fall in love with someone, you develop a relationship, you grow into a relationship with someone, and suddenly they are changing their gender and fully, like biologically. I can understand as much as I can understand right now without having had that experience, or either as the person that is like with someone transitioning or me wanting to transition. um but I also feel for Aaliyah and how I don't know that's fair for her, because it does go into, your partner is supposed to love you unconditionally and fully for who you are completely, and not for like not having to be someone else for them. um and so it does make me wonder what we see his friend or daughter or whoever, sorry I missed what that person was, but say that like maybe this isn't the relationship Aaliyah deserves, because she deserves the relationship that, has someone fully, accepting her for her. And if Sean can't, then I don't know, maybe they'll make it work, but I don't know if that's ultimately fair. And if they're just like trying to keep the relationship. It was really pretty, and I think again this was in the previous episode. Yeah. But it was like really so loving and heartwarming, and I cried when Sean gave her this like book, and I'm like, oh my gosh, he really loves her. So I don't know. This one's complicated. This one's going to be, I feel like, heartbreaking either way, whether they stay or they don't stay together. I think this one's really hard, and this one's really messy and complicated and nuanced. Yeah. But as far as like the whole testing thing, I understand. I mean, I did that, not quite like that, but like um yeah, I don't feel comfortable with people sleeping around, and I don't know that I trust necessarily people to not do it. So it's really hard, but I also don't really go there with people so that much. So I don't know. I understand. As far as like if I get a cut or something, I think that if I was in Romania, I would also fear getting infected with something. So that's why I can sympathize or empathize with her, with Aaliyah being from Brazil. Like it's not even just subtropical or tropical because Romania isn't, but it's not the U.S. as far as cleanliness and things like that. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know that I would say that she's a hypochondriac. But seriously, like do not leave your toothbrush out. That is I can't believe that. And I can't believe that he criticized her. Then we have whatever her name is with Juan, Stevie too. I don't know cuz they look exactly the same. And Megan, her only friend, or I mean, sorry, not this person's only friend, but Megan's only friend is this person. And to Megan, it felt like Juan, cheated on her too when he cheated on this other person who is Juan's fiance. Um, and I think she was tearing up again, excuse me, when she was saying that, talking about being lied to, twice the damage, having to find it out now instead of like earlier on. And if she had found it out originally, then it wouldn't have been that big of a deal. She is at 100%. There's codependency here happening. 1000%. As soon as I just said that, like, oh, yeah, 100%. There is a huge lack of, well, okay, not 100%, I don't know, but it seems very much codependency, lack of differentiation, like you are me and I am you, and what's happening with you or to you happens to me too. That's like more on the codependency, lack of differentiation side. Like there's something like major there. And I said I don't get this friendship. I don't get this friendship. I don't get Megan. And the other part, or Megan, as I was saying in the past one, and I was saying that it was giving, and I was even kind of afraid to say this, but it was giving a little bit of like Selena Yolanda vibes, like the singer Selena. Yeah. And I think it was giving the producers the same vibe because they asked this person that I forget her name, we'll call her Stevie too, asked her if Megan would kill him if he does something bad, because she said like, I don't think he would do that, but it would be very hard, or she would get very difficult or something. I was like, okay, so I'm not the only one getting that vibe. Cool, cool, good to know, good to know. If I was Juan, I would be scared. I don't know. It would make me question being with this person that I call Stevie too, because I don't remember her name. Um. Oh, and then I think that was in the other episode 7. But man, so you're getting off this cruise life, And welcome to the rude awakening. Not just like, oh, okay, yeah, normal life. No, you're getting like, was it two or three boys and a baby? That's his baby, but the boys aren't. And what? I could not do that. That's a lot. One child, okay. Two children, okay. And but they, oh, maybe it's in the editing, they seem like just a lot of energy. And it's not about like not being around them, but it's like being thrown into that like from the get-go. It's hard. I can only imagine. I can definitely imagine. All right. So the last couple of the night, the throuple. All right, let's start. So first of all, that car that one guy was driving them in was awesome. I want something like that. Awesome. And then I said, why is Amini the only one in the back with Ani all the time and always holding hands? And then, and then I said, maybe my ignorant self, but is that a throuple thing? Because even when they walked out, Amini was like, yeah, let's just, it's constant. And maybe it's an Amini thing because she's constantly like holding her hand, like all of them, they have to always hold hands, all three of them. And maybe she does that with Matt, maybe they're like hand holders, but I have not seen and I have not done that too often where you're like constantly holding hands, like constantly holding hands, like constantly. So anyways, they get to this winery, and right off the bat, Amini basically steals these flowers. The guy was very sweet. He's like, oh, yeah, you have good taste. So they keep going, and then I think they sit down to eat or something, or they have like a cheese and wine situation. And, oh wow, I skipped a lot of that. Um, what? Oh, I think I didn't skip. Sorry. It was a little confusing how it was presented, but Amini was saying in the ITM that like it seems like or everything goes in favor for Matt. And Ani first kissed Matt when they saw each other. Um, they Ani first had schmecks with Matt and not her. Like the boyfriend is what she told her family about, not her as the girlfriend or whatever. So, yeah, just like I feel like I'm the odd man out, and it's everything about Matt. And so, but back to, I guess, more holding hands and holding stuff. I don't know. Or I said, is that why Amini keeps holding Ani in her hand? Like, she's like, love me too, love me too. And then and then I said, Ani does definitely ask Amini a lot of questions. Like, she's definitely perceptive. She's been the one who's like, are you okay, Amini? Something's off. What is going on? Tell me. And so, so I said, what? This was when Ani said, I told you I present you as my girlfriend when I'm staying in Guadalajara. So Amini asked, like, hey, like, I feel like you're ashamed, or I forget what she said, or like, you just, like, something's fishy. I don't, like, do you tell anyone? Do you tell your family, your friends? Do you tell anyone? Um, or no, sorry, that was like later. But yeah, she was talking about her family. And so Ani's response, either it was editing or just that's how it was. But Ani responded like, I told you I present you as my girlfriend when I'm staying in Guadalajara. And I was very confused by that. I'm like, what's that have to do with the question? That was not the question, but moving on. And it was also like crickets. I wasn't the only one. So I think it was that kind of sequence. And then Matt said, He has a couple of questions, and he said, "Are we planning on telling your family before we go, before we leave?" And Ani was like, "No, honey," like just off the bat. And Amini was rightfully upset about that. So Ani says, "You don't understand." And I said, "Well, no, you don't understand. They are like, they need to know that you're really into this, that you're really committed, that you really are honest and loving them and all this stuff, because they're sacrificing potentially their family. They're getting divorced so they can bring you to the US with them. And children are involved. Ani has a child, they have children. So there's just so much, so much. But I don't think Ani is really thinking about them, because I don't think, as far as I can tell, as far as we've seen, I don't think Amini is asking for too much. I don't think Amini is trying to control Ani. Maybe we're missing something because I've not seen that. She's constantly asking for reassurance. She's asking to know that this is for real. I'm sorry, but if I am, I mean, I've been in a position like this, not anywhere like this, but like I, for my ex's one birthday, I got there, like I was invited later. He had already gone over to his family's house, and I'm like, "Why are we not going together?" And then afterwards, even though I was going over his place, we had to leave separately, and he like, like staggered us leaving. I was like, do they not know we're together? And they knew that we had been together, but this was like after the pandemic, after we got back together, because we were off for like 2019. And sort of, kind of, whatever, complicated. Um, but yeah, so I felt that a lot, and I think that's a very fair thing to be reassured about and to ask questions, especially like I didn't have children and I wasn't getting divorced to bring him into my life, or into our life. So that is absolutely, like, I mean, he's being very fair about that. She has to be sure that this is a legit person with a legit reason to, and legit love for them. Yeah. So, Ani, you're the one who doesn't understand. I've not seen much of, um, I guess a little bit, maybe you could say that, oh, Amini's not being very culturally, like, kind because, it's like Mexico and, oh gosh, like, to tell that to your family. I don't know. Sometimes it happens. We saw the one girl from Brazil, Thais. She had that with her dad. Like, she didn't tell him until she was here and whatever. I don't know. Sometimes it happens, but I don't think that's fair. I don't think that's fair. Whether or not it's like good or suspicious, I don't know, but fair it is not. Um, so then I said, "Why is Matt constantly smiling?" And then I asked that quite a few times. And then Matt asks, "Does anyone know?" And Ani takes a very long time to answer. Amini even points that out. She's like, "You're taking way too long, so the answer must be no." And eventually Ani responds, "Now, no." Amini leaves in tears. She has a rightfully so breakdown. Um, Again, this woman, and she says, like, "I just want to go home. I just want to be with my children." This woman is putting so much on the line. She loves Matt. She has spoken how she doesn't know who she is without him, or she can't live without him, which I think that's a big red flag, not about him or about her, but like about like the relationship. um and or like her in a way, I guess. And so she's putting the love of her life on the line, as far as we can tell. Yes, she loves Ani, but she's new in the picture. And, this other person, this Matt, is also the father of her children, of Amini's children. And she loves her children. Like, she's putting that on the line, the welfare, the the health, the emotional health, the good life of their children. If they get divorced because this other woman decides, oh yeah, I don't want a throuple, I just want to be with Matt, and Matt decides, oh, I just want to be with Ani, and then Amini is like, okay, and the children are like, okay, thrown out of the picture, like, or adjacent to the picture, then like she's putting a lot on the line as a mother, as just a human being who loves her children, but also loves Matt, her husband. And, this new person is like, well, yeah, I'm not telling anyone about us. Or that she's in a relationship. Later on, he says, like, okay, you're ashamed of being a throuple. Well, I can understand that, but you're not even saying that you're in a relationship, period. So, yeah, do not blame Amini at all for walking out in the way that she did. Um, she, like I said, I think she's just very honest with her emotions and her truth. And that is very understandable, reacting that way. Um, Ani doesn't understand though. So I think, yeah, later on, we come back to them, and that's when Amini has gone off crying. Matt is just like there with Ani, and I think it's like, okay. At first, I'm like, why are you just sitting there? But then it's like, well, Ani is part of this relationship too, and like, I guess even me, I would say that if I was Amini, I would need a little, like a few moments, a few like seconds or minutes of, just to be left alone. And then for Matt as well, it's like, okay, I'll just leave. I'll give her a little space. But he didn't. It didn't seem like he waited a lot. But maybe it was the editing. It seemed like he just like respected that Ani was in this relationship as well, and was curious about where she was at, what her thoughts were. So he asks Ani if she understands why Amini is crying. And I thought, first of all, that sounds like what you would ask a child. Like, do you understand what you did wrong? Um, but secondly, I thought that was also endearing. That was like, oh, okay, he's maybe nice. I still think he's really immature and yeah. But anyways, not so much in this episode. Even later on, I didn't find him very mature. Maybe because didn't say too much. um, then yeah, Ani said no, she doesn't understand, and then she goes after them eventually after she looks at their. So Matt goes off, goes to comfort Amini, which is actually so nice and made me like really. I love that moment. I don't love that moment had to happen, but in that circumstance, I love that she had him there and he did that. And then Ani's just left sitting there, and she like looks at her watch, and then it's like, oh, and then she gets up and like goes over there. Now maybe again, maybe she's like dismissive, avoidant, maybe she's not heartless, but she's not coming across so good in any of these episodes. Not once did I think, oh yeah, she's a really good person and she really loves them, and both of them. um no. So she goes all like, baby, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. And they hug and whatever. And I said, why is Matt smiling? I would yell, but it's late. Because he's smiling like constantly. I think he's like a nervous smiler, like when he's nervous and doesn't know what he can do. Like he's awkward, like he will just like default to smiling, but it's really like creepy. So he needs to like stop. But anyways, I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt that he's not enjoying this from like a masochistic or a sadistic place, or that he's not enjoying it from a like, oh, these two women like crying over me or whatever, or just like kind of like how some like the cliche of some men like, oh yeah, two girls kissing is hot, you know. And so um Ani, I said in this moment, and I don't mean just this very moment, but in this season so far, I don't trust Ani at all. Maybe, like I said, it's like an attachment style thing, like an armor up kind of thing. Maybe it's cultural, and sometimes some cultures, like the way that they speak, can sound very disingenuous um to like me as an English Romanian speaker, or vice versa. So I don't know if that's what's happening, but I just, something does not feel genuine about her. A lot doesn't feel genuine about her. And then I said, honey, because she uses that word a lot. They are divorcing for you if this goes through. Not feeling bad for you. So yeah, bye. When will your actions match your words? Is what Amini said. Because to Ani, because she said like, I understand. You might feel uncomfortable revealing you're in a throuple, but you're not saying you're in a relationship, period. And Ani was like, what do you want from me? And she's like, when will your actions match your words? And Ani is like, but what do you want from me? And she's like, I just told you what I wanted from you. And I'm like, yes, but it's not something she wanted to hear. Again, yes, there is a language barrier, or, whatever challenge, but I feel like it was more that, when people, they ask you, what do you want me to say to you? What do you want to know from me? And you tell them exactly straight out what you want, and they're like, but I don't understand, because they're not willing to give you that, because they're hiding something. That's what came across to me, but I don't know. And not just to me. I mean, he did not trust her much at this point either. And I said, Matt, stop freaking smiling. It's so creepy. Again. And then Ani was saying, she kind of just walked out and saying that Amini just likes drama. So I said, BS to that. That is not what's happened. I've not seen Amini being dramatic. I've seen Amini being emotional. So that's why I'm like, oh, is there some dismissive avoidance happening? Because that's like their favorite phrase, I feel like. Um, but yeah. And then she talks about how, like, just because Amini has money, she can't give me orders. And I'm like, that's not what's happening either. That's not what's happening. That's maybe either something you're saying. I don't even believe she believes that. I think it's a manipulation. But okay, let's say it's not. It's like maybe convenient for her to see that, but I don't. I think that's like a her problem, not an Amini problem. So I said again, dude, you don't understand. And then they keep going, and Ani walks out or walks away, blah blah blah, and just says like, you need to relax. Like, we can talk, but you need to relax. Like, you need to be calm. I'm not going to talk to you unless you're calm, kind of thing. I'm like, ugh, hate that. It's so like trauma, like, parent childhood trauma central, when people are in that space and they don't even know that is not how you're supposed to handle people. But anyways, um so uh Matt stays behind somehow at one point, and then there's Amini that catches up with Ani, at which point I wish I had some people on right now, because I am so curious what you think. If you watch so far, please please, and if you've watched the show, please let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. What do you think this is? Because Ani says that she loves Amini more than Matt. This is after she just called her like a drama queen, basically. That if she can't relax, like if she, yeah, if she doesn't calm down, like this is not a relationship she wants to be in, and blah, blah, blah. And that she's not telling anyone that she's in a relationship. And also that when she did tell her family, she told them that Matt is her boyfriend and not that Amini is her girlfriend. And now she's saying that she loves Amini more than Matt, and that uh, I stay in this relationship for you. That she Ani is staying in the relationship in this throuple only because of Amini. She could care less about Matt. At this point, to be honest, I felt like this was a bad thriller, and this was manipulation. And Amini in the ITM says as much as well, that she doesn't feel like that's something she can trust. And I said, Amini, she's too smart for this, but these things sometimes confuse one's mind and disorient. Some what people might say, like, you have rose-colored glasses on, you have love goggles on, etc. Because Amini does keep saying, like, I love you so much, I love you, blah blah blah. I don't think it's love goggles. I think it's just outright manipulation. What it looks like at this point, it looks not, yes, I mean, he wants to see certain things that Annie loves her and all this stuff. But I think it's one thing if you're like seeing someone who, this is going to be a stupid example, who loves salad and you hate salad. You're a carnivore and they're a vegan. And you, because you love them and you're in that love goggle stage or whatever, you're like, we can make this work. It's going to be okay. We'll, like, you know, we'll make this work. And then you discover that it doesn't. I don't know. Like I said, bad example. Um, that's not this. This is someone telling Amini, Ani telling Amini, someone telling the other person what they want to hear after they've been chasing them for so long, after they just like broke down because they're not included in any of Ani's, like, Amini's not included in any of Ani's stories as far as like relationship or anything. She's just her friend and blah blah. And again, yes, okay, it might be cultural. She might, know better, whatever. But it just screams like manipulation and trying to manipulate Amini. I don't trust Ani at all. Something about her does not feel genuine and trustworthy. I'll just say that. I'm gonna end it with that. So that was how it should have ended. I don't know who edited this episode, but they failed. That was a like whoa moment and a whoa segment. Not everything that came after that I already covered. So, um we'll see. I'm very curious what will happen and what will come out of this, but man, it's definitely interesting. It's definitely interesting. The thruple is definitely interesting. There's like a lot of interesting, like, whatever, couples and stories, but yeah. So let me put a little bit of the music sort of on. That's interesting. And with that, I kind of am wrapping it up. it feels good to end on that note. I'm glad that I waited until the end to talk about the throuple because boy did, like I said, they got it so like twisted in the wrong way, you know. But yeah, that was like also some cathartic, like, oh yeah, I got some empathy going, some like, oh, I can relate to that. And it ended up being more interesting. But yes, tomorrow I will do, I'm sorry, like this is too loud. I will do um the episode 7 recap because I'm sorry I didn't get to it before, but I'm just kind of trying to break into this pie part of YouTube because I really love this show and this franchise. So yeah, it's early days. So yeah, I'm definitely making errors and mistakes and figuring it out. But yes, tomorrow I will have season 11 episode 7 for you, and that I had a lot more to say. So anyways, thank you for watching this. And next week, I'm definitely going to be ready for a party, for an after party with better music or more music. I'm going to figure things out. I'm not going to have them figured out by then, but it's going to be more figured out. Anyways, have a wonderful night and let me know what was the thing that I. Oh yeah, I think it was about the throuple. Like, what do you think this was when Amini said that she loves. Sorry, Ani said that she loves Amini more than Matt. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. Let me know in the comments below if you've watched the show and you have thoughts. I don't believe it. Nope. Something is off. Peace, love, and compassion, which always kind of feels weird after talking about other people like this, but I do mean peace, love, and compassion as best as we can. Bye. Have a good night.